Okay, good. Now that we're all here, I would like to welcome everybody to our last AG meeting of the month. So without further ado, I would like to welcome our newest member, Kamata-kun, to our almost Godzilla meeting. Everyone say hi.
Hi.
Hi. Hello. And then Kamata-kun, would you like to introduce yourself? My name is Kamata-kun, and I am an almost Godzilla. Hi, Kamata-kun. How's it, Godzilla fans, kaiju fans, collectors, and just general people of YouTube? This is Chanzilla1964 coming back to you with another figure review. Today we'll be looking at Shin Godzilla's Form A and Form B, the first releases from Bandai's Movie Monster Series line. Before we get started, I will get this out of the way. These are not the Evolution set releases where they come heavily painted, and very nicely painted, might I add. So they are custom painted. So with that out of the way, let's get started with the review. Taking a look at Shin Godzilla's Form A, starting with his head, I think Bandai did a very good job with detail on these guys. From Shin Godzilla Form A's head, this very nice bulbous eye over here, and his nicely individually sculpted teeth, and even the sinews for the mouth looks very good. Moving down his neck, we have his gills, and I like how his gills are very individually sculpted, as well as the gill flaps, how they are not exactly a part of the gills, like they're not connected, but rather they look very separated, and I mean, it just looks very natural and very nice from Bandai's end. So good job, Bandai, on the gills. As we continue going down Shin Godzilla's body, we have his crest over here. The crest looks very nice, and I like all these I guess the vent areas for the chest on Shin Godzilla, or the muscular parts. And then we have his kind of an arm, more like a turkey wing, not quite an arm yet over here, which I think the detail is very nice, and you see the very beginnings of Shin Godzilla's tiny little T-Rex arms, which are coming in his next form. Looking at Shin Godzilla Form A's ribs area, I think the muscles look very good, and the detail that they put in is, I mean, it's insanely good. I mean, Bandai kind of went all out with this figure, which, I mean, granted, they kind of had to top Godzilla 2014, so I think they did a pretty good job at topping them when it comes down to these figures. Going back to his leg, the detail on his leg is very nice. The leg muscles, this little horn which goes into Shin Godzilla's final form, it looks very good, as well as this little kind of, I guess, a secondary fin over here, which I know some catfishes or eels have it. It's a very nice detail Toho added, and it's very nicely transferred onto this figure over here. Looking at Shin Godzilla Form A's feet, his feet look very nice, especially with his individually sculpted little toenails over here. Very cute. The eel-like secondary fin continues down his tail. Speaking of his tail, as we look at his tail, all the detail from the individual muscles on his tail look very nice. Even the little spikes over here are very nicely sculpted into the figure. And as we come along the tail, we come to the very end of the tail with his not quite yet formed head. It's more like a guppy fin, which I thought was a cool addition that they would put this, or even an eel fin. So Bandai, like I said, did a very good job with this figure and the amount of detail that they put into it. The underside of Shin Godzilla still has quite a bit of detail, just not quite as much as the sides or the top, with the neck area over here, and then the little skin flaps, or the skin folding over the crest over here looks very good. And then the detail on Shin Godzilla's pot belly. Now Bandai could have left this, kind of smooth, but the fact that they put all this detail in here, I think, says a lot about what Bandai can do and what they could have done with some of their later figure releases. King of the Monsters. One gripe I have with this figure would be his face, because if we're gonna go movie accuracy, his face never really looked this scary in the movie, and his mouth wasn't this agape. This sort of face would have matched very well with this one. this figure over here in the back, whereas this figure's face would have matched very well with this guy. Because, just saying, everyone made memes on how cute this guy is in the movie, but for his figure, he's translated as being very scary. Whereas this guy kind of looks like a puppy dog in the face. I mean, who can hate that face? But anyways, aside from the face, I mean, for me, as it's a monster, I think they did very well with the face, especially on this figure. It looks very menacing, very cool, and it looks like it goes right into Shin Godzilla's final form. But yeah, to finish off detail, this Shin Godzilla Form A's dorsal plates look very, very nice, as such is with the Shin Godzilla figure line, especially with the Shin Godzillas. And then they even included these little vents in between each dorsal plate. I'm not sure if my camera's going to pick it up. You may just have to take my word for it. But they have these little individually sculpted vents in between the dorsal plate rows, which I thought it was a very nice detail that Bandai went with. So, again, Bandai, good freaking job. Moving on to paint for this guy. Paint for this guy was relatively simple, even though there was still quite a bit of paint for what Bandai could do. Starting off with the eye over here, they painted the eye very nicely with this gray pupil, and then the eyeball itself was painted this kind of pinkish white color tone, which was very fitting for the figure. It's very nice. It's something we haven't seen from Bandai before, so it was cool seeing it this time. Then for the rest of the body, it was pretty much this kind of skin, this kind of yellowish greenish skin color going all throughout the body over here of the Shin Godzilla Form A figure, and with where the red is for the gills and the mouth, not really over here on the fins, it was just this kind of really nice pink color, which part of me regrets painting over, although another part of me also is thinking it's Shin Godzilla. I was going to keep the colors consistent with each figure, which as I show off the Shin Godzilla Form B and the final figure, you guys will see what I'm getting at here. But in the original figure, they had this really nice pink color, which, I mean, I'll give kudos to Bandai for the paint job on this guy, because they could have left the gills blank, but they didn't. They could have left the teeth blank, but they didn't. Which, again, showcases the potential Bandai has. So, Bandai, don't go backwards. Because these figures were great. This guy. Anyways, other guy, I might have something to say about. Articulation for Shin Godzilla's Form A. His two legs move. And then there's a glue seam here at the tail. Sadly, tail doesn't move. Overall, though, I think this guy is a very, very good figure. And this is probably one of the better figures from the whole line, if I might say so. Paint-wise and detail-wise, even though I will say the one who gets the props for detail has to be Shin Godzilla's final form. Just saying. Moving right along, we have Shin Godzilla's Form B figure, which, starting off with detail, let's get one thing out of the way. This face is too cute to go straight from this thing to this thing. I mean, either there's a step missing, or Bandai messed up with giving this guy the cute face and this guy the extremely terrifying face. The face issue aside, though, detail on this guy is still very, very good. Possibly one of Bandai's better detailed figures, even though I think they could have added more detail over here in this little area where the gill flaps are starting to fold over the gills. But aside from that, I mean, the texturing on the body is very nice as we continue down, and we finally have his arms here, which are fully formed, but they're connected to the body, which, I mean, you can do very little with the soft vinyl figure, but I'm sure Bandai could have figured out a way to make this not attached to the body like this, because it just would have been something nice to have. But I understand you can do so much with the soft vinyl figure. As we continue down Shin Godzilla Form B's body, though, the texturing and the detail that you see in the rib area continues, and then we also come down to the leg. The same kind of spotty texture over here continues for this portion of the leg, as well as the secondary fin thing going on over here also continues to the leg. And then we also still have Shin Godzilla Form A's cute little feeder but he's kind of got a serious case of elephantitis going on here. I don't remember his leg being so chunky in the movie. As we go down Shin Godzilla Form B's tail, the amazing detail continues, as well as this kind of secondary fin thing as well that is translated very well from Form A over to Form B. And then we finally get this secondary face forming for Shin Godzilla's Form B, which in my opinion was a big jump from Form A to Form B tail wise, but I mean, I'm all good with it. But the detail on Shin Godzilla Form B's secondary head for the tail over here is translated very nicely from the movie onto this figure, segueing smoothly into the other side. You're gonna get the same thing. Very good sculpting, very good detail work on both sides of Shin Godzilla, including the underside of Shin Godzilla's Form B, from his neck area, which is finally getting fully formed into what we're going to see later on down the line with Shin Godzilla's final form, as well as the crest over here. We're finally getting his fully formed chest, not quite yet scarred, and his little pot belly over here is kind of sinking in. So he's losing a bit of weight, but it all went in his legs. As we go down along the bottom of the tail though, again, amazing detail work from Bandai. And just, yeah, I cannot give these figures enough praise for the amount of detail that went into them. Even though I have a few issues with some of the design choices that Bandai went with. Not Toho now, Bandai went with. I think these figures are really well detailed. I think that Bird agrees with me. Paint for Shin Godzilla Form B, which I'm just remembering now, their names in the movie was Kamata-kun and Shinagawa-kun. So I'm going to call this guy Shinagawa-kun from now on. Shinagawa-kun. Paint for this guy was relatively simple. He had these orange accents, orangey red accents going down in his gill area and a few on his ribs over here. His arms were not painted. Neither was his dorsal plates over here, these speckles of orange paint. Or this part of the tail was not painted this orangey color. The whole body, aside from the parts that I mentioned, which were the gills and the parts, kind of speckles of his rib area, the rest of the body was just kind of this really nice brownish red color, which I personally like quite a bit. It was a very nice shade, but to give it more movie accuracy and make it more Shin Godzilla-esque, I went ahead with a few oranges here and there, and especially here. And this is the custom figure that I get out of it. As well as I went in with a little bit of black wash on the underside over here, just to give it a little bit of contrast, because I know in the movie his underside was a little darker than over here. But I mean, overall paint job on this guy was more lackluster than this guy, because I feel like for Bandai, it went from great paint job, okay paint job, not so good paint job. Even though this is a custom figure, so this one has pretty good paint job, but it's mine. So yeah, moving on from paint job, we have articulation, which articulation on this guy is a little bit weird, a little bit wonky, but we still got 4 points of articulation, which was a different 4 points, but this is where we're at. His two legs move, and he has a knee joint, the movement over here. I guess knee joints, more like knee swivels. Aside from these though, there's a glue seal at the tail over here. Sadly, like Form A and final form, tail don't move. So it's okay. It's not great articulation. It's kind of weird to be honest with you, but I think look, I'll say it, I'm glad we got articulation on this guy. Yeah. Overall though, for Shin Godzilla's Form B, I think it's a decent figure overall. For design choices, I think Bandai could have given him closed mouth and made him kind of look more movie-esque, where he was kind of looking down and his mouth was more so closed. Because rarely in the movie was his mouth ever agape, or even if his mouth was roaring like this guy. Because legitimately, when I got these figures and after I saw the movie, I was thinking, this guy's face belongs on this guy, and this guy's face belongs on this guy. Because, I mean, makes so much sense. But Bandai took that design choice and took that route, and these are the figures we got. And they're still pretty damn good figures, if I may say so myself. Moving on to scaling, we have Shinagawa-kun and Kamata-kun with Shin Godzilla's final form. So scaling wise, movie accuracy, I would say this guy doesn't really fit in because this guy was actually twice as tall. So if I was going to say anything, I would say if you're going to go for movie accuracy, get the 8-inch version of this guy, which is in fact twice as tall as this guy, matches up very nicely with these two, because these two automatically scale up very well with each other. This guy, not so much 6-inch wise, 8-inch figure, yes, very well. They scale up very well with the 8-inch figure. But for play value, and in my opinion, when I first got these guys, I was so excited because, I mean, sizing wise, it looks like it makes sense because this guy stands up to this guy, and then this guy finally stands up straight and grows a little bit taller and turns into this guy. It makes so much sense. Whereas in the movie, to me, it seemed kind of weird because after he went in the water, he grew twice as tall as he used to be. To me, it seemed like he was a whatchamacall. I know that he fed on nuclear waste, and that's kind of how he grew so big. But to me, he seemed like one of those capsule toys where you stick it in the water and it grows 4 times the size it used to be. Except this guy was 2 times. But jokes aside, I think these guys still scale very well together. If you're gonna go for movie accuracy though, get the 8-inch figure. Time for my question that I ask every video. Do I recommend you guys add this into your collection? My answer is, if you're a Godzilla fan, if you're a big fan of Shin Godzilla, heck, even if you're a dinosaur fan, I definitely recommend you guys add these into your collection because they are just really, really cool figures. And I mean, if you're gonna go for the Shin Godzilla figure line, I would recommend you guys get the evolution set rather, especially if you're gonna go for movie accuracy. But if you don't necessarily have the money for it and you would rather go the cheaper route, I would recommend you guys get these two guys because, I mean, they're still relatively very well detailed. I mean, not relatively, totally very well detailed. Paint wise is another story. That's the only, I guess, hiccup you're gonna face, which, I mean, it can be fixed with a little bit of black wash and a little bit of orange speckles here and there. So it's a fixable thing. So do I recommend you guys get them? 100%. Totally. That'll do it for today's video though, guys. So remember, if you guys like this video, do be sure to leave a thumbs up. If you guys like what you see on the channel, do be sure to subscribe. And if you can, do leave a comment down below in the comment section because it does help the channel big time. And don't forget to share the video because that definitely helps the channel and helps us get out there and to get more subscribers and more viewers and more people to kind of entertain, which is my ultimate goal. So yeah, by the way, before I head off, the channel will be taking a bit of a different route after this review, from Godzilla to a possible different not Toho series but Japanese piece of media figure wise for a little bit, not for too long, just saying. But we'll most likely go back to Godzilla. We'll most likely be doing Godzilla for the next few videos. If not, we'll be going to that figure line, which, hint hint, it starts with a K, ends with an A, and here it is. Has a guy with a guitar, badass guy with a knife, and the girl that the guy with the guitar's gotta save, plus an evil scientist. So if you guys know what that series is, do leave a comment, do leave it in the comment section down below. That is for something that's coming up soon. But this has been Chanzilla 1964 signing out, and until next time, peace.